Well, Larry Hughes is going to pop out and get the ball. Jordan's going to rub his man off of Leitner and then cut down the center and gets a nice pass from Larry Hughes.
Long rebound, Hughes. Fake, jumper is good.
Give it to me, Larry. Give it to me, Larry Hughes.
All right, everybody, welcome to this week's Bleav in Wizards podcast. I am your host, Matt Moderno, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Larry Hughes. Larry, how are you this week?
I'm doing good, Matt. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. For everybody listening here, we're joined this week by Sam Dekker. Sam was a parade All-American, two-time second-team All-Big Ten, took down a juggernaut 38-0 Kentucky team, was the West Region's most outstanding player, the 18th pick in the 2015 NBA draft, and played in the NBA from 2015 to 2019, and hopefully will again here soon, and most recently played with the Washington Wizards. So it's obviously why we wanted to have you on. And Sam, you were really well-liked here in your time in D.C. Personally, I wish that had been a lot longer, so maybe that works itself out again here. But how are you?
I'm good. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, guys. But, yeah, I like D.C. a lot. I like the Wizards. Wizards fans showed us a lot of love. And, hopefully it's not over there. We really enjoyed our time, and it's a great place to play.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll obviously get into the Wizard stuff a little bit. But first thing we wanted to ask you about here, you had quite the adventure getting home this season. You were playing in Russia. We just wanted to hear a little bit about what that journey was like.
Yeah, as a whole, it was a really eye-opening experience for me. Helped me grow up, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, go through a new change of scenery, a new country, new form of basketball. It's different over there, man. And, getting home was tough because obviously, you want to end the season. We're second in our league. We want to, get to the playoffs and show that, we can win our league. But you get a call in the morning saying you got to get to the airport in an hour. They're closing all the borders. You got to get home. Kind of turn basketball off in your brain, and you worry about getting home to your family and friends and getting out of there safe. So it was a close call, but 40-hour travel day got me home.
Sam, did you have your family there with you while you were over there?
So my wife Olivia, she flew out there with me, to get out there. She stayed there for 2 weeks with me, and then she's a college football reporter in the fall, so she had to be home. She was calling games every week. And then did Big Ten basketball as well. So she only got to go out there 2 or 3 times. She met me in Turkey for a week one time, and we had a tournament there. But other than that, she only made it a few times. And then we met in Paris for New Year's, which was very nice because that was kind of easy for everyone. Not easy, but, it's a direct flight from Chicago. She could get out there. And then I actually had my trainer Jake, who I lift with all offseason. He came out for 3 months, which was awesome. Just kind of keep me sane, someone to watch movies with and stuff, and go grab a bite with. So it was great to have him out there and fill my time a little bit.
It's always good to have some family.
Yeah, it's not easy, being so far away. Time zone changes. You're talking to people when they're getting up and you're going to bed. So it's different. It takes kind of takes a toll on you, but you gotta, once you get in the rhythm, it definitely helps.
Does the league you were playing in limit the amount of Americans you can have on a team, Sam?
No. So the VTB is it is a league with a lot of imports. So, I played against at least 10 to 15 guys that I had been playing in the NBA over the past few years. Probably 15 guys I saw in the Big Ten. So a lot of Americans, a lot of good players. VTB's got 4 EuroLeague teams, 3 Euro Cup teams. So there's, it's right now the second-rated domestic league in the world behind the NBA. So it was good competition night in and night out, which was fun. And, speaking to Americans and you can kind of talk trash, in a friendly way with Americans is nice. So it was a good league to be a part of for my first experience out here. Obviously, I want to be in the NBA. That's where I feel I belong. But you got to make the best of that situation. And it's one of those things, if you think about the NBA every day, you're going to not excel where you are. And, so you kind of had to, take a slice of humble pie and go and do your job,
So would part of that be, just going over there, is that like, is that the love of the game? Is that Obviously you're a young guy, so you have a lot of years left in the game, but what pushes you to, go overseas for that opportunity?
Yeah, honestly, just a year of stability is huge. I've been part of 4 trades that are kind of out of my control, and it's hard. Larry, you played for multiple teams. You know how hard it is to, even if you feel like you're, a great player, going to a new situation, meeting new teammates, trying to impress new coaches, new fans, it's not easy. And I was doing it mid-season twice. And, you're trying to fight your way into the rotation and make, relationships with teammates. And then, so when I got a call last summer, Lokomotiv in Russia is offering a good contract to play there for a year and to, have the same court under your feet for a whole year. What do you think about that? And I saw that as kind of a good opportunity just to know I'd be a big part of the team and just get out there and play and feel like I'm not going to get traded at any moment.
Yeah, for me, I think as a former player and just talking about just being comfortable in your environment and having the ability to be somewhere for, more than one season, if not the full season is very important. So it's like sometimes we look at the player and say, oh, that player's not good, but a lot of times, more often than not, we have to look at the situation that player is dropped into. And I think that's, really true in your situation. And it's good that the game is so big now you can find those opportunities. But, from this side of the table, we can't always look at, what the athlete is doing. You have to look at, what's surrounding and that environment.
Absolutely. And I think Kevin Durant was on a show last week and he was saying, he gets mad when he sees on Twitter people say like, oh, so-and-so is horrible. And Larry, if you're in the NBA, you're not a bad basketball player. Yeah. And a lot of times I've had guys that don't play a minute in practice and open gym are some of the times the best player on the floor, but they don't fit in that certain style, that the coach needs. And so there's no slouches, in the league. And, some places I felt like I fit great. Other places was a little more tough. In LA, Doc has an amazing system. And for some reason I wasn't good there. I wasn't comfortable, every night the way that we played. And, where in Houston and Washington, I felt like I could slide in and fit in every night, and it's crazy how that works. To the normal fan, it just looks like basketball, but as a player, sometimes mentally it's so different.
Is that on the court stuff, Sam, or is it a combination of both, like just gelling with the guys and the coaching staff too?
I think it's top down. I think every organization, starts from the top down, whether it's the top dog on the roster or, the head coach, front office, you name it. The kind of culture like Houston, they have that laid back approach. Coach DAntoni has pulled me out of games for not shooting enough threes. So it's like, when you're out there, you can fire. And so you miss 3 or 4, he look at you like, shit, shoot the next 3, and that gives you a lot of confidence. Whereas some other coaches, they value those possessions so much that sometimes you're kind of a little more careful. And, Coach Brooks in Washington, he was the same mindset. Just go, Sam, go, use your speed, use your athleticism, just go. And having a coach like that, gives you a lot of confidence. So it's a little bit of both with the off-court, on-court type of thing, and just having communication with coaches, with teammates. Like I said, going into a new place mid-season isn't always easy. So I think it's nicer when you can get a training camp with the guys and just kind of flow into the season like that and improve your worth.
So has there been one guy that you've met, over your journey with the multiple teams that's kind of, stayed in contact, making sure you're in a good headspace? Is there, any one guy that's done that, young or old?
Yeah, for sure. I would say Pat Beverley's one for sure. Trevor Ariza, he was my vet. I think everyone has a relationship with Trevor, it seems like, but Trevor still checks in on me. I was in Houston and DC with him, and Blake Griffin. Blake was really good to me when I was in LA, and he always checks in on me every few weeks when I was over there. So having guys like that, relationships like that they'll selflessly check in on you, knowing it's a weird time, that means a lot. So yeah, those are guys that were always really good to me. And even guys in DC, I still hear from John Wall and Brad sometimes. So it's always good to hear from those guys.
And Pat Beverley can relate to that, the having to go overseas and kind of, work on some stuff and come back to try to get some opportunities.
Yeah, and he played in St. Petersburg. He played in the VTB league. So Pat knows very well. Like, he actually played with Milos Teodosic, who we played in LA with. So those guys know the European game. Pat, I think he has a soft spot for guys that go over to Europe. So, he's got that. He's got the mentality, and you can tell now that he's back in the States, he's not going to let that slip.
Obviously, we're talking about, playing overseas and what you bring to the table. What do you feel like is what you need within your game, or, what's going to give you that other opportunity, that next opportunity to make it back, to the NBA? I know you said that's your ultimate goal. What do you feel that you need to add or you're adding right now?
Well, it's just definitely the consistency from three, man. And it's one of those things that, like, once you know your weaknesses, or know your shortcomings, those are things you got to attack. And for me, it was a multitude of things with my jump shot. In Houston, I shot 34% from three, which, isn't high enough. Obviously, I wanted to get there. I think I'm a better shooter than that. And I had one cold spell that brought me down. Cleveland, I was at 39%, last year in the 30s again. And, so that's kind of been the knock on me. Talking to teams last summer, they were saying, Sam can run, he can jump, he can defend, but we need a guy that we can rely on to hit that corner three, coming into the game for 15 minutes, hit 2 or 3 threes and play good defense. And, sometimes Sam has it, sometimes he doesn't. So it's one of those things that, that I know it. I'm not too proud to admit it. And it's one of those things that I just need to keep showing and keep, just rep after rep after rep. I know I can shoot the ball, but I gotta prove that I can shoot the ball when I'm not playing 35 minutes. If I'm playing 12 to 17 minutes, I got to be able to shoot, 40 to 45% in those minutes. So that's gonna be big for me.
Yeah, that's a skill. That is a skill. So don't think that that's something that you can't work on or something that won't happen for you. That's definitely a skill, is to understand that I'm not getting to 35. I'm only getting to 12, but I have to be just as efficient. From player to player, I struggle with, being comfortable in that rhythm. Once you get in the rhythm, then you can knock shots down. But if the minutes aren't there, it's kind of tough to get that rhythm. But It's good that you understand that.
Exactly, because I know guys like Kyle Korver, who I feel like everyone's played with. He's that rare breed that can play 8 minutes or 28 minutes, and his shot is going to be in rhythm every time. And that's a rare guy. And so he's a guy I tried to take a lot of nuggets from, just like, what is your mentality when you're coming into the game and, getting into your rhythm. So just trying to learn little things like that to come in and feel warm for your first shot is really important.
You hit a lot of clutch threes in college too. So, obviously it's a different line, but, you've shown that you can make them in big situations. And part of, what Larry was just saying is the rhythm and just, I got to imagine a lot of that for you guys. It's just confidence in, hey, I know this coach knows me, knows I can make it. I'm not going to get pulled if I miss 2 in a row or, chance to play through it.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like I mentioned earlier in LA, Doc, one of the greatest coaches of all time. And I have a good relationship off the court. We gelled really well, but I always felt like if I missed 1 or 2, came in and missed my first couple, I could feel it. I could feel it a little bit, and like, oh, it's not Sam's night, so I'm playing 8 minutes, but if I hit that first one, he could leave me out there for 20. And that's the way he coaches, because he always has a deep bench, and that's great. Some nights it was my night. Whereas DAntoni, I knew 4-minute mark in the first quarter, just walk to the scorer's table, and coming out with 7 minutes left in the second. I got my 9 minutes each half right there. And so I knew, and if I hit 1 or 2 in there, he's going to extend it a little bit. So every coach is different. And when you get comfortable like that and know what to expect every night, your job becomes much easier. But when it's bouncing from 5 to 25 minutes, you never know. So it's all about having that rhythm, like Larry said, and knowing what to expect from the coach. And, sometimes you're going to get it, sometimes you're not.
So Sam, toughest part of the game, mental or physical?
Oh, mental. Easily mental. The game physically, obviously I was blessed being 6'9" and athletic. So, being able to guard, 1 through 5. So that stuff is natural for me. And the ball handling stuff, that stuff's natural. But the mental part of the game, one, for like an 82-game season is a lot. But two, just the pressure that, people don't realize the pressure we put on ourselves, I don't know if you can attest to that, but, I've had teammates. I've seen teammates break down. I've had breakdowns. We're making a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it's what you love. And you put so much pressure on yourself to perform, and you compete with yourself every night. So sometimes, that mental part gets to you, and you need a reset sometimes. Sometimes you need a good cry, or you need a good, outlet at times. And I don't think any of us are too manly to admit that. It takes a toll on you. So mentally, I think the NBA and all professional sports is really tough.
Yeah, and I work with a bunch of young kids and young people that are obviously on their journey to whatever success that they'll make it to, whether it's the NBA, whether it's overseas, whether it's the corporate world, and that's entirely the message is you have to be physical, you have to have those tools, but your mental makeup and your mental attributes is going to be huge in how successful you can be, and that's all about that's all a part of the passion. Having passion for the game and loving what you do.
Yeah, and I think right now we're in a weird place where at any moment you can go on your phone and see what anyone thinks about you. And some guys can handle that, and some guys that you struggle with. And you even see now some superstars are struggling with what people say on Twitter, Instagram, what have you. And I've been in that boat as well. And people come at you, and then the next night you can play well and everyone loves you. And, so those highs and lows can really take its toll on you. You can score 20 points one night and you're riding high. 24 hours later in the NBA, you can have 2 points and people are saying how bad you are. So you got to be able to either eliminate that or not let that get you too high and low. You got to stay in that middle because too high or too low is pretty damaging.
You talked about the 3-point shooting a little bit. So this year, while you were playing in Russia, was that a big focus on your game, shooting threes, making threes, showing teams that you can make that?
Yeah, for sure. But this is the thing that I learned in Europe. We had 3 coaches this year. We had 3 head coaches this year in 40-something games. So, you lose 2 or 3 in a row. You lose 2 in a row in the NBA. It's, come on, guys, let's go. Let's get back out there. You have another game in 48 hours. In Russia or in Europe, sometimes you have 1 game a week. So it's like football, where like every game is do or die. You're having 2 days. You're watching film for 4 straight days. Some stuff I've never gone through. So we lost 4 or 5 at one point and fired our coach. And our first coach, I had a good relationship with. I was able to. I was playing 30 plus minutes, and we kind of all had the green light, which is nice. We bring in a new coach, very NBA-like, easy practices, flowing system, but, substitutions were boom, 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 and then fired him. And then we get a new coach who was, you could have swore you played for Indiana in the 80s. Like we playing through the 5 every trip down. Floppy set, throw it to the post, let him go to work. So you have to find times where you can get shots up. It's crazy. Some nights I was taking 18 shots. Some nights I was taking 3. So it's you never know what to expect with the European game. But sometimes you're like, wow, we travel back in time. We're playing 1986 right now. So there's some nights that were great, some nights that weren't. But that's, like I said, you just got to stay with flow and ride that wave.
Were you able to get communication as far as evaluation from, general managers, scouts? Are you in constant contact just throughout, every game, or is it week by week basis? How does that communication as far as to making sure that you're staying on the radar of scouts and general managers?
And that's a big thing. Obviously your agents have so many clients, in the NBA or wherever, but you want your agent to be like, don't forget about me. I'm over here trying to get to my next step. So don't forget about me. So, I was in constant contact with my agency, probably every week, just checking in, and if they didn't hear from me, they're always calling me, what's going on. They're watching every game, taping every game, sending it to teams after every game. So knowing they did that was important. And they would call me with feedback. So-and-so, has been watching, they've been impressed. So you've had a hot start. So-and-so has been really, we're going to push them hard this summer. So we've gotten some feedback. I've seen that, teams in the States have a list of guys that they want to keep tabs on. I know I've been one of them. So there's a lot of good players in Europe, but hopefully some teams, have taken notice and, we can get something done. But right now, who knows with all this virus stuff and what teams are even looking for right now. So, but that's why you have agents. That's why people calling for you, and just staying positive, keep working.
Tommy Shepard has been promoted with the Wizards to now he's the head GM since you were with the team. What was your relationship with Tommy like, and what do you think about that promotion?
Yeah, I was really happy for Tommy. A Wisconsin guy. He loves the state, and we had a good relationship when I was there. When I got traded there, he called me right away. He was excited, and he was one of those guys that you could tell he was proud to have his title, proud to have his job. And he was at practice every day, always talking with the guys, whether we were losing games, winning games. He's trying to check in on guys, always checking in on Olivia. All in all, good guy. And that's the kind of guy you want running your team, just to have someone that isn't afraid to talk to players, whether good or bad. And so I was happy to see he got the promotion. Obviously wasn't happy to see they went in the other direction with me, but those relationships are good to have, and good lasting relationships to keep. Even in the heat of the moment, you don't want to do something that you're going to regret down the line, because things can always come back around. So, I was happy for Mr. Shepard, and hopefully they can see some success soon.
Any thought to playing in the G League at all? Was that ever on the table for you, just to stay a little more in people's attention, or not?
I don't know. I don't see myself as a G League player. I would never played in the G League when I was in the NBA. Obviously, I was there for 5 games my rookie year, rehabbing an injury. But other than that, that was never on my radar then. And from what I've heard from teams, they value the European competition and playing against, high-level experienced pros more than the G League sometimes. Because, I respect a lot of the guys in the G League, but, some guys shouldn't be having 50, 16, and 8 in a game in the G League. I just don't know how much you're going to get out of that every night. Some of the numbers these guys are putting up is insane. Nothing, no disrespect, but I'm just, I want a product that, that is super competitive, uber competitive every night. And the packed out venues that you get in Europe is really good for experience. So right now, I'm enjoying the competition over here, and hopefully that pays off for, a contract here in the near future.
Well, I think that's, you're looking at it from a business decision as opposed to a knock on the talent. So I think that's a very smart way to look at it, from a business perspective, but what's the next step? No G League guys are going to feel slighted, for those comments. It's just a matter of what you feel what the best business practice is to actually reach your goal. So that's solid.
No, absolutely. And like I said, there's many guys that make that jump from the G League to the NBA. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I know a lot of guys that can really go get buckets in the G League. I'm just saying that in terms of venue and just opportunity, and there's some really, really good talent out there out in Europe, and some really passionate fans, and it's fun. There's a lot of times where you're like, man, it wasn't even this loud in the NBA, but we'll see what happens down the line here. I'm never going to say never on basketball. I could end up in G League for a stint here or there. Who knows? But obviously, you got to set your eyes on your main goal right now.
It's always interesting to hear for me as a non-basketball player. So, what kind of drives these decisions? And part of going overseas is there's some language difference and there's some cultural differences. So I would think there's one appeal of the G League is at least, the culture, but how was Russia in terms of making that transition?
It was tough in a lot of ways. And that's another reason why guys will stay, in the States, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not an easy transition. A lot of these guys have families they don't want to leave. I get that. That those situations are tough to leave, and I totally understand that in every way. It was not easy for me all the time. I had a lot of anxiety sometimes just being in my apartment in Russia. Like, what is going on, man? Like, where am I? really can't understand people, a whole different alphabet, language, ways of life. But that's where being young helps, and having an open mind helps. I'm pretty personable, so you can try to get to know people and, just try to find good people that will help you and have you in their corner. And having good teammates helps, and a good organization, a respected organization. So, and then having my buddies out there help for sure. Just kind of getting out, finding new spots, finding new places to go. And once you kind of try to make a place a home, no matter how short you are there, it definitely helps. So we made the transition okay. It was actually cool. Seeing some of the places in Russia is actually really cool, and all around Europe. And so to check off some places that I'd never been, it was pretty sick.
Yeah, man, allow that basketball to take you as many places as it can take you, man, and accept it, appreciate it. I've gained a lot of respect for you just over this short time of just perspective and your journey and understanding where you're trying to go. So, never stop that ball from bouncing until it deflates for you. So just keep it going.
For sure, and I appreciate that. It's one of those things like, there's some bad days over there. You have some bad days, is this worth it? I miss my family, miss my dog, just things like that. Like, how much longer can I really do this? But, I've been telling myself, as long as I still have more good days than bad days, that means I still love the game. And I've had way more good days than bad days. So it's, I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. But I have a question for you, Larry.
Yep.
As a player, when do you know it's time? When did you know it was time?
For me, I knew it was time when I wasn't interested in doing the road work. And that road work is, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, getting out of bed, getting a couple miles in, strength and condition training. Mm-hmm. I felt myself when I started to push, that clock back, or, start at 5, start at 6, or start at 10. Then I knew that passion for the work was starting to go away. And my family played a role in that as well, is that they were going through, my daughter was getting ready to start middle school, and, just the experience of all the things that I've heard, of young girls, going to school and all the stuff that they deal with. I wanted to be there for her and be there for the kids. So it was a combination of me putting, that hard work that got me to that point, continues to push that back. And then also, am I of more value in another place in my house than I am on the basketball court? Right. So I just looked at what the value that I could bring, not only to a team, but also, what sort of value I could bring to my family.
And what was that year 12, 13, 14?
That was probably year 11, 10, probably 11.
Yeah, where September comes around, you're like, man, training camp, I don't know.
Yeah, because it starts early, man. The work is never done. You talk about unseen hours and the things that, your fans and people don't get a chance to see. Like, that's the gruesome work. So you want to feel value, you want to feel validated, but that's when you know that it's time.
And it used to be guys go to training camp to get in shape. And now if you don't come to training camp in shape, you better come correct. You know what I mean? I think Miami, they have, if you can't start training camp unless you pass a physical test. And it's like in 70s, 80s, guys aren't coming to training camp in the best shape of their life. And, so you're working in May and June to be ready for 2 days in September. It's one of those things. Yeah. It's all flipped, and it's great.
What's changed also is that a lot of guys now just the training environment has changed. The strength and conditioning environment has changed. Mm-hmm. So when I was coming in and going to training camp, you knew there was nothing that you could do that was going to prepare you for training camp. Yeah. No matter how many miles you ran, how many weights you've lifted, how many games you tried to play, how many lines you ran, you were not going to be prepared for training camp. There was no way. But now, with all of this specialized training and performance and working, the very, very small muscles, you guys get a chance to get in better shape before you have to be in shape.
Now they have like a 90-minute cap. You can't be on the court more than 90 minutes. Yeah. So, and then I think it's 120 minutes for a whole day. So you can have one 90-minute in the morning and then a 30-minute in the afternoon. So the the Players Association has really lengthened guys' careers, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
And especially with all the miles we put on now in AAU and travel ball as a youngster, think about all the hoop that you've played. And and then going for 4 hours in training camp, it's just not good for guys' bodies. And now you see guys, 38 years old still playing at a high level. I think it all attributes to that load management.
Yep, I was a part of the 4 or 5 2-a-days in a row before you get one session off. So yeah, I completely know exactly what you're talking about, man.
Yeah. Who ran the hardest training camp for you?
I'd say the Bulls ran the hardest training camp. I mean, they had some testing and stuff that you needed to do before you could actually participate. Yeah, Eric was there. Yep. Eric was there. But yeah, that was one of the toughest training camps I've been to. Philadelphia was tough my first year because we were in lockout, so we had to push the pace up. So that was very, very tough training camp my first year in the NBA with Larry Brown.
Mm-hmm. Well, Larry's old school too, from what I've heard. So he doesn't want to hear the excuses and everything. And
Oh no! You guys, I wouldn't say you guys have it easy these days, but
you do.
Those old school coaches, man. They went by a lot of the old school rules.
Man, DAntoni and Doc, two guys that love short practices. Practices, man. DAntoni, his practices were amazing. It was like 10 minutes of defensive walkthrough, and then like 16 to 18 minutes on the clock for it'd be like a 3-man set for like dribble drive, kick out 3, layup, kick out 3. It was like, then he's like, get shots up if you want, but let's go. And it was unbelievable, but it worked.
So I have a little story about DAntoni and how relaxed he is. Okay, so I was in New York with DAntoni, and I mean, we had a bunch of guys that were on 1-year deals or expiring contracts. So the expectations of us winning games, I mean, it wasn't very high. I mean, when you put a team like that together.
Yeah.
So we had practice out in White Plains. That was where the practice facility is at. But we would have shoot around at the Garden. And some guys, they lived in White Plains and they would travel down back and forth. So I started to track how long DAntoni's shoot arounds were, because it took at least 30 minutes to get from White Plains down to Madison Square Garden. So the shortest shoot around we had with Mike DAntoni in New York was 8 minutes. 8.
That doesn't surprise me.
It was 8 minutes from the time we walked on the court to the time we got back into the locker room. It was 8 minutes.
Larry, we stopped having shoot around.
Yeah.
At one time he went to James and said, how do you feel about not doing shoot around?
Yeah.
James was like, so like on back-to-backs? And he's like, no. We've won, I think we were like 9-0 on back-to-backs. He's like, we've won every game on a back-to-back without a shoot around. What if we just got rid of them? And he's like, sure, why not? Let's try it. So he tried it for a week. And he said, if you win 3 of your next 4, we'll have no more shoot arounds the rest of the year. We won all 4. So yeah, he's so laid back. I remember one point I started the year like real good, and I went through a lull as we all do. It was like 2 weeks I was shooting like 20% from 3. I was thinking about it. So I walk in his office, his door's always open. I walk in his office, his feet are up. I was sat down. I'm like, Coach, am I doing something? Am I overthinking it? You see something with my shot, with my form, and it's something. I just don't know if I'm in a rhythm. And he just looks at me. He just puts his book down. He's like, shit, Sam, you're a good basketball player. Just go shoot the damn ball. And then he goes, enough about this basketball stuff. How's your life? How's the family? How's this? And like, it just hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, like I've never had a coach that's just so like, dude, you're good. You're a good basketball player. Go play. And like, it just took a weight off my shoulders. And he knew that's what I needed. He knew I'm a guy that expects a lot of myself, and he just needed me to just like, hey, chill. You're good. And that definitely helped. He's great with that stuff.
That's what's up. That's probably why he's still around today. As much as people talk about him and talk negative about him, I mean, that's probably why he's still around today, is because, the players that, the players will play for him because of that attitude.
He loves his guys. And I truly think all coaches do. They all treat them differently, but I think all coaches, they take pride in their guys. And, as much as, you have coaches that you can yell back at, you have coaches that you can only talk to on the side, whatever. But, they wouldn't be coaches if they didn't care about their players, and they show it in different ways. But, once you form that relationship, you get to understand.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is that just respect for your players, that they'll be professional enough to do what they need to do and not, not forcing it?
I think so. Again, me and Larry played in kind of different roles, kind of overlap, towards the 2010s, but, he was in the early 2000s where it might have been a little different, like the George Karls of the world, Larry Browns of the world. But, I think nowadays, that respect and, understanding people's mentals and that stuff, I think it plays a little more of a role. So I can't speak on what Larry went through, but I think a lot of coaches have been good about having that open door policy now. And if you have concerns or guys getting time off because they need a mental break, I think a little more cognizant of that now.
Yeah, I just think the world is smaller now with, just a lot of information out there about their players and their guys. Sometimes if a player is struggling, you may not know it. Back in the day, you may not know it because that player just didn't say anything, but now you have social media and things of that nature. So, they may get wind of that. So it's an easier way to have conversations. So there's a little bit of difference.
Yeah, I think so for sure. But Larry, do you take pride in all the St. Louis guys? St. Louis is on the map right now in the NBA. There's a lot of good players right now.
Yeah, I do, man. I do. I feel like I'm the forefather of a lot of, a lot of that is St. Louis basketball. I mean, we go and talking to a guy here, I've been around the NBA for 20 years at least, and I've represented, St. Louis and tried to bring, the eyeballs back to St. Louis, for as long as I've been around the game. So it's now starting to pay off. We're getting, a couple guys every year to drop into the draft. And, we want to get up there with California and Chicago and those guys, man. We're trying to get bodies in the league. So, we can get more and more kids and, more and more, inspiration. But for the most part, we're just looking to, really inspire people to be their best, right? Yeah. If it's the NBA, just be your best. The game is a fun game to play, especially nowadays when you're making so much money.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing with all the St. Louis guys in the league right now, like they all got good heads on their shoulders too. And I think it helps when you got a guy like Brad, who's kind of at the forefront now, kind of taking, that leadership, and he's such a good dude. You all know Brad,
Yep.
And guys like Jason, and so it's cool to have like not a small city. St. Louis is not a small city, but it's not New York, it's not LA. So to have guys like that put it on the map, and like you who have been good people, good character, I think that shows good. And I think that's how I am with Wisconsin's got different. My guy was Devin Harris and Michael Finley. Two good dudes. And, so people love having those two at the forefront, and they take pride in those guys. So, now trying to be one of those guys. I was an in-state kid, played at Wisconsin. Guys like Frank, too, Kaminsky, and guys around the league now that you play with from Milwaukee area and stuff, you just try to put on for your hometown, home state, and not act a fool,
Yep, because you know what? You guys are having camps, and we all have camps back in our hometown. Mm-hmm. And there's a 7-year-old kid, an 8-year-old kid, that in 10 years, you'll be looking at them and they're on somebody's television, talking about how you inspired them to keep going, or how they went to your camp, way back when, and that's when the fruit comes.
Oh, for sure. Basketball's short, but, having an impact, I think can last a long time. And I've learned that from a lot of guys now, around the NBA that, seeing the off-the-court stuff last longer. And, those little stories can last a long time. Not to get too sentimental, but, you got to outreach with the basketball. It's crazy. You get an outreach.
Yep.
One of the things from the fan perspective, I think for us, it's always easier to root for guys for your favorite teams when you've heard stories or you have anecdotes about like, hey, this is a nice guy. Like, it's when you have an interaction with someone and they're, they're engaged or they're into it. Like you commit to that more,
I've gotten in a little trouble at times because I'm a little like too sarcastic on social media sometimes. And so people will think I'm like a jerk. They think I'm kind of asshole. And then they meet me in person, or they meet me, after a game or something, or someone will shoot me a direct message and I'll respond, and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, like you're a normal dude." I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I'm sarcastic, because we are all normal dudes." And I'm a fan of teams. I'm a fan of actors and actresses and stuff, just like everyone else. And I think it's helped me now to show that side of me, like on social media, because people are like, "Oh, I can see that Sam plays video games. Oh, I can see that, Sam likes the Green Bay Packers, just like me." And I think that's important. And I think social media has helped that fan to player interaction to where they know, all right, we have feelings just like you guys. And I think that's been big for some guys, myself included.
Yeah.
As a part of doing this podcast, I think one of the first couple questions I get from people isn't even about, "Oh, what do you guys talk about?" or "What do you do?"
Yeah.
It's, "What kind of guy is Larry? Is he sounds nice on the podcast. What's he like?" And I'm not just saying this because he's obviously here doing this podcast right now, but Larry's like unbelievably humble and just like nice to be around and easy to talk to. And that just makes this more fulfilling for me. And then I convey that to people, and that makes people want to listen and be into it too, I think.
And that's for me too. Like I grew up watching Larry on the Cavs, on the Sixers. So now, I think of Larry as this guy that I used to watch growing up. But now on a personal level, know he's a good dude. St. Louis guy. He has a story. You know what I mean? And I swear when I'm running a camp, Larry, I bet you the same way. What's Allen Iverson like? What's James Harden like? What's John Wall like? That's the questions we get. It's not what's his favorite move. It's what kind of person is LeBron? And those are the stories people want to know.
Yeah, for sure. And there's just two things, man. Just when I talk about, just being humble and being in that space, is that you are above no one and you're below no one. That's, you just live by that, and trying to teach that and put that into, not only the young people head, but an adult, because being humble is a part of being successful. And the other one is, you can't make them all, but you damn sure better not miss them all.
Right.
Okay. So just carry that, man. You're above no one, but beneath no one. And never going to make them all, but you damn sure better not miss them all, because you'll be sitting right next to me.
Like I'm doing right now, but hopefully I don't miss too many. Obviously you want to get back to where I want to be, and whether it's Washington, whether it's Indiana, who knows? But that's there's a lot more hoop to be played, a lot more lessons to be learned. That, and I think if you can try to add something every day, I think you can make something pretty cool. For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Sam, before we let you go here in a little bit, I got to ask about one moment.
That's good. Wait, what else I got? It's quarantine.
I love it, man. This works for me. The NCAA tournament run, that Kentucky team, 38-0, Devin Booker, Karl Towns. That was Booker didn't even start on that team. That was a heck of a squad. What was that moment like? Like, going into that, you had to think, as good as your team was, that people treated you like the underdog, and how did that feel to get a win against a team like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about this game more this year than I have ever, just because March Madness was gone. I think it's crazy. We lost to them the year before in the Final Four. Obviously, they added Karl, Devin, Willie Cauley, those guys. But we had a team that we truly thought we were better than anyone in the nation. And that, I think that's something that you need as a team. We didn't always look the part. Go look at a Wisconsin team. They don't always look the part. We know that. But physically, we were the only team, I think, that could match up with UK that year. Everyone was 6'5" or taller in our starting lineup, just like them. We were athletic. We could jump. We could run. And, it's one of those things that we knew we had the experience factor. Most of us were in our second Final Four. And we just gone through a gauntlet. We played Oregon. We played North Carolina. We played Arizona. And then we have Kentucky and then Duke. And you think about it, that's the Blue Bloods. So we didn't really care who was in front of us. We had a fun team. And we had the National Player of the Year. Kaminsky was unreal. So we just knew that if we kept it close, or if we threw that first punch, that we were going to be able to withstand it. And that's what it was. We knew they'd make a run. They were young. So we knew if we responded to those runs, that's going to make sure we come out on top. So we knew they made the second half run. Then we're like, okay, now it's go time. We had guys that made plays. And we had a lot of talent. So, when you have two talented teams, it's just the amount of who can make a couple bigger plays, and especially on a stage like that, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I definitely think you guys came out on the right side of history. I'm a guy that, whenever I'm watching, any sporting event or any event for that matter, I'm looking to see history, right? If there's an undefeated team, win it all. If there's whatever the idea is, I want to see history made. So I guess you guys, definitely came out, on the right side of history.
For sure. And that was we had a mantra called Make 'em Bleav. It started as a joke. Playing ping pong before games. Like, we had this guy that wasn't very good, and he won, and we're like, make him believe. That was the big thing. And then it turned into your kind of like, as a college kids, the little quips turned into a thing, and it actually turned into our thing, like make him believe, make him believe, make him believe. Yeah. And because we were these, a lot of us were darky white guys, and so we're just like, let's make him believe we can hoop. Yeah. Let's show them we can hoop, and that turned into our thing, and we did. Obviously, we wish we would have won it all, but if I had a dollar for every fan out here in Wisconsin that came up to me during the day saying, those 2 years you guys made those runs were some of the best times of our lives, I'd be a rich man.
When I think of Bo Ryan coach teams, I think of not fouling a ton, playing smart defense, running people off the 3-point line, being very sound with possessions. What are the biggest things that you kind of took from years playing for Bo?
You hit it on the head, not fouling. It's crazy. That's a skill. People don't think about that. Not fouling is a talent. We average 5 fouls a game. So if you're not giving teams 16 free throws, think about all the points you save. And that's what they said. Coach Calipari called like Tom Izzo, Tom Crean, some coaches around the Big Ten, like, how do we attack Wisconsin if they don't foul? Because UK wanted to get to the line a lot. And, we were taught, we had off-season drills, just hands back, hands behind your back, just move your feet. And if it's weird, we got away with a lot after, like, you play a clean first half, you're going to get away with a lot in the second half. And that's kind of our mantra. And Coach Ryan, worked the officials a little bit, and then not turning it over actually has still helped me to this day. I don't know if you watch my games, I'm not turning it over. I'm making the clean pass. I'll take some risks, but that the possession, we learn how much the possession mattered. We track points per possession every practice, every game, every day. We went through everything, and that's helped me in my pro career. Not giving up possessions, not turning it over, getting guys a good shot. Turns into a skill, and coaches can count on you not to turn the ball over, find a guy in the corner for a three, get a layup. Those things kind of help, in every possession down the court. So that value of possessions on both ends of the court has helped me, tremendously to this day.
So you guys were tracking points per possession in practice?
Points per possession in practice, dude.
That's high level right there.
Yeah. So if we were under 1.3 points per possession in practice against scout team, we had to run. So we would play. So our practices weren't crazy, but we were it'd be like 45 minutes of live action. And he would call you over, like call the starters over and say, the first 7, first rotation, and say, you guys need to score 6 points in the next 4 possessions to like be above. So we were like, okay, like, so yeah. So it was those reps in practice where points per possession, it kind of translates to the game. Don't kick it, don't throw it to the other team, don't take an ill-advised shot. It sometimes looked boring, but it was more calculated than people thought. Yeah. We didn't run an offense. We didn't have an offense. I put up a clip a couple weeks on Twitter of this play that looked awesome. It looked really, really cool. Like, it looked like it was just like fluid, like whatever. I said, This was just BSing it. We were just running around. We would cut off each other. One guy would flare. We'd run 4 or 5 pick and rolls. We'd run 5 3 pick and rolls, just really random stuff. And I ran into Coach Izzo last year in Detroit, and he was like, I need to tell you, what did you guys run? I said, nothing. He's like, that's what I thought. He said, we couldn't scout you. We couldn't scout. You had Frank Kaminsky being the point guard on a pick and roll with a 2 guard. Like, he's like, there's no way that could have been normal, and it wasn't. And I think that's what helped us, because we had smart guys. Coach Ryan knew we were smart and just said, go hoop, do what you want.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to play basketball, is when your coach gives you a structure, and then you're able to be creative and understand, read and react, and rely on what the defense is doing as opposed to exactly what the coach called. So that's big ups to your coaches for giving you guys that structure, because that'll help you guys later on in life.
For sure. And as long as you got a good shot, he wasn't going to get in our way. And we had, I think we set the record for most efficient offense in NCAA history, just because we're getting good shots, playing off of each other and read and react. That's the way you got to play. And you play like that on the playground growing up. Why can't you do that on the biggest stage?
I think for me, one of the things I always seem to notice from younger players is they seem kind of rushed, or the pace of play they haven't really adjusted to yet. But, as a still relatively young player last year for the Wizards, one of the things I liked was you never seemed in a hurry. It was, let me take my time, let me see the rest of the floor. Is that part of coming from that college system where you had the freedom to work through things? And
I think so. And, playing point guard my whole life until I grew. I was 6'1", and then I grew to 6'8" within a year. So, having those guard skills definitely helped. And I will say, early in my career, even in Houston, when I was, a heavy rotation guy, there's times where I was rushed early in your career. Larry knows that feeling. It's bigger, it's faster, it's pro. You're going to be rushed a little bit. I remember Lou Williams during a timeout grabbed me and grabbed my face, and he just said, "You're wasting energy. Relax." And he said, "You're moving too much. You're a great cutter, but you're moving too much." And you know how Lou is. He's just so even keel. He said, "You're moving too much and you're wasting energy. You're going to be tired in a minute. Calm down." And after that, it helped. After that, I went to every game, just relaxed, and it helped so much. And you can see the floor better. You can cut better. You can read better. And, and then once you get calm, and I like the way the Wizards used me. They used me as a trailer a lot, a 3-4 trailer that I could, DHO into things, and just kind of use my passing ability. And Coach Brooks was good about that. So I really enjoyed playing with those guys, and I had a good connection with John. I had good connection with Brad, even Jeff Green, another vet that's really smart. Playing off those guys is a lot of fun.
So you obviously married into a sports focused family. What's that been like, being around people that talk the game for a living?
It's been cool. You grow up watching Kevin Harlan. He's been a legend in the game. He's called a lot of my games, a lot of Larry's games, on TNT big games. I actually met him. I knew him before I knew Olivia. He did my games in college, and we formed a relationship with meetings and stuff. And so just a great guy all around. And now it was always funny then in the NBA, guys would always be like, "Your pops is calling the game tonight." They always give me crap about it. So they always had fun with it. And they all knew Kevin liked to gas me up a little bit on TV, but he's the ultimate pro. And Olivia too, she's working right now on the phone and hoping ESPN has football this year and basketball and all their sports. So it's really fun watching them and seeing the other side of the game, how hard they work and how much work goes into a broadcast. So it's fun. And it's always fun to talk sports with them. And, they have a lot of influence on the game. So it's pretty fun. But also getting to know the family and Kevin as a father to Olivia and now me. And he's such an awesome dude. All in all, great dude, encompassing as a family man. So it's been fun to be a part of it, and I hope they want to keep me around.
Well, you sound like a keeper, buddy. So I think they'll keep you.
I try, man. I'm learning every day. We all mess up in this life, but it's wake up and get better every day. That's the point. Not just as a basketball player, that.
Yes, sir.
It's clear from this you got some media chops though, so they better look out. You're nipping at their heels.
One day we'll see. Who knows? I always said I got a face for radio and a voice for newspaper. So.
Appreciate you for jumping in, and giving us some of those good nuggets, man. Appreciate you. No,
this has been great. It's always good talking with everyone. It's also good. I appreciate it. It's also good not talking about college always. I love the NBA game. The past 5 years has been pro hoops for me, and and I hope it's not done. So I appreciate you guys wanting to talk NBA with me and sharing those stories, and let me reflect a little bit on that, and hopefully we got more to come.
Okay, folks, that's been our interview with Sam Dekker. We appreciate the time, and as always, you can find us at Bleav in Wizards on Twitter, BLEAV. Send us your questions or suggestions for guests, and keep an eye out for Sam on social media too. We'll tag him in this, so make sure to follow him. He's a good follow on Twitter and Instagram. So keep it up, and Sam, thanks again for the time.
All right, thanks guys. Good talking to you.
You too, man.
All right, see you.